Hello, everybody. Today is Saturday, the 5th of February, 2022. My name is Robert, and we're taking a look at a series on location awareness as part of a broader series on emergency preparedness. Now, in this section, we're taking a look at the Spot Trace Tracker, comparing that to the Garmin InReach Mini. And spoiler alert, the best feature about the Spot Trace is that the 4 AAA batteries will last at least 4 weeks compared to the Garmin InReach version 1, which only lasts about 48 hours, 2 days. However, Garmin just announced this week that the Garmin InReach 2 is Mini 2 is now available, the Garmin InReach Mini 2, and it has a battery life of 30 days. So basically the same as the Spot Trace tracker. So the Spot Trace tracker, 30 days. The new Garmin InReach Mini, 30 days. So as far as battery life, they're now about the same. Now the difference, though, becomes price versus feature set. Obviously, for $400, you're going to get a lot of features on the Garmin InReach Mini 2. But for $99, you get all the tracking capabilities on the Spot Trace. So if you don't need all the other features, the Spot Trace, might be the best option. Let's take a look at this. All right, we're taking a look at the Spot Trace tracking device. This is a good device for tracking mountain bikes, motorcycles, side-by-sides, 4x4s, boats. And we're going to take a look at how to turn on the power and then watch it synchronize with the satellites automatically. Unlike the Garmin InReach, this will automatically activate the satellite connection. So on one side here, we see there's a button and 2 LEDs. I'm going to click the button. And notice that the LEDs light up, the left and the right. So the left LED is indicating power. We'll see that blink. The right LED indicates it found a satellite, and we can see that that's blinking. Now, one thing to note is that after a certain amount of time, and I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but within about an hour, the lights are going to stop blinking. But that does not mean that the system has stopped. It's just saving power. And one of the nice things about the Spot Trace tracker, let's say in comparison to the Garmin InReach Mini, is that the batteries that are inside this, there's 4 screws here on the bottom. There's 4 AAA batteries in here. This will last at least a month, at least 4 weeks, without having to change the batteries. Whereas on the Garmin InReach, we'll have to charge, say, every 48 hours or so. So we have the unit turned on. We can see that the lights are blinking. And the next thing to do is to test out if we're getting a signal. So the current time says 10:55 a.m. 10:55 a.m. I think that might be right on the Monday the 31st. The watch sometimes have to update that, but it's 10:55 a.m. And what we should be able to do is to go on the internet and to verify that the beacons are picking up. So within 10 minutes, we should see a, let's say 11:05 beacon. We just want to verify that it's synchronizing with the satellite, because that'll also verify that the subscription service is active and configured properly as well. One other thing about the Spot Trace is that there's an optional panel right here with some screws that covers the USB connection. I would suggest leaving that on because it keeps it completely waterproof. This socket allows the power to come from a USB cable. What it does not do, and I misinterpreted this myself, is it does not have a charger. So it's not going to, if you have rechargeable batteries in here, it's not going to recharge those batteries. The batteries, they are what they are, but the nice thing is that if you had this connected to a step down, let's say a 12-volt step down to a USB 5-volt, you could actually run this forever, indefinitely, off of a battery source, external battery source. But if you're not doing that, then I would suggest keeping the panel attached and screwed on here. I've got my panel in some safe place in my workbench area. When I find it, I'm going to put it back on. But that's pretty much it. This has been a very reliable unit. The nice thing about it, I think when we compare all the things, comparing the Garmin to the ham radio, the thing that stands out on this is the battery life. It's at least 4 weeks for 4 batteries, possibly even more. It's a super, super low consumption tracking device. It doesn't have all the other bells and whistles that the Garmin InReach has, but this is super. So this is a super good deal. It's a super good value. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. We're looking at the website findmespot.com. That's the website that manages the Spot Trace devices. Here we're taking a look at the first beacon that we've got. And one thing that I noticed is that it took about an hour before the first beacon showed up on the website. After about 45 minutes, I gave up waiting, jumped in the van, and drove to the gym. So this is the gym, the EOS gym in Ladera Ranch. Here's the first beacon that showed up. And one of the cool things I'm noticing about the findmespot.com map is that when you click on the dot, it pulls up this little box. That little box will bounce whatever dot is in focus. We can see that the altitude, longitude, and latitude are displayed here. The next thing that's kind of cool is that you can jump forward and backward on the spot. So that's the first dot. I'll click here. Here's the second dot. Here's the third dot and the fourth dot. So at this point, it's 11:30:57. That's the last beacon that shows up here in the parking lot. And I believe that the spot tracker, if there's no motion, it stops sending messages to save battery power. One other thing to note is that on the first couple beacons, it's actually 5-minute intervals. I know on the website somewhere you can choose between 10-minute intervals and 5-minute intervals. So notice the first beacon is at 11:15, and then 11:20, 11:25, and 11:30. So 5-minute intervals on the first 4 beacons. The van's parked here behind the gym. It's not moving for about an hour or so until we drive to lunch at Tudo Fresco. And at this point, it almost looks like the spot trace is asleep, because the distance between this last beacon and the restaurant is quite a big distance here. But it does finally detect the fact that things have changed. So we're up here in Santa Margarita. Let's zoom into the restaurant area. And let's do the same thing. We can see the beacons jump. So here's beacon 5. We're at 1,463.3 feet altitude. Beacon 6. Beacon 7. I will point out that these 3 beacons are off just a little bit. The GPS receiver is not correct here, because the actual parking spot that I was at this day was right here along these cars, and the restaurant is actually this building right here. So this is the wrong side of the street, but it's close. But it seems like most of the time it's very accurate. This is an unusual GPS error, and I don't know the answer for that. Let's move ahead. So now we're down to back to the apartment. Let's scroll back. So it seems like there's a little bit of a delay when the device is parked for too long. It goes to sleep. I don't know what triggers it waking up, but the 5-minute intervals are clearly not perfectly 5 once it stops. So here, the last 2 beacons, 8 of 9, and then finally beacon 9 of 9. And that's the final parking spot. And that spot is exactly perfect. The parking spot is literally right there. So the accuracy of the GPS most of the time is, it looks like it's down to within plus or minus 10 feet. That one lunchtime interval, it looks like it's plus or minus about 100 feet. And I don't know what it was about that particular location that caused it to have that big of an error. So the distance between here and here was about 100 feet, but all the other beacons look like they're plus or minus about 10 feet. So under normal conditions, it seems like it's highly accurate. All right, so we've taken a look at the spot trace tracker. We know that it lasts about 4 weeks on one battery set, the four AAA batteries. We've taken a look at the way to power it on. We looked at the Spot website to verify that the things were working. So thanks for joining us. See you next time. Bye-bye. So depending on how you found this video, you may or may not be aware of a series that we're looking at called Location Awareness, which is part of a broader series on emergency preparedness. And I'll add a link at the top that you can click on to jump to this to see the broader context of the project that we're working on. So Matt's Offroad Recovery, the YouTube channel, offered this barbecue Friday the 14th of January 2022 up in the Hurricane St. George area. And I ended up driving my van 999.7 miles round trip to attend this event. So from Las Flores down here by Los Angeles, up through Barstow, Primm, Las Vegas, up to St. George. And along the way, on this 1,000-mile road trip, Las Flores, California to St. George, Utah, we're testing different devices for tracking a vehicle off-grid. Number one, we're using the Garmin InReach Mini. This uses a satellite subscription. Number two, we're using the Spot Trace, another option with a satellite subscription. And then finally, number three, we're using a ham radio, the Kenwood 710, which is free. It does not require a subscription. We're taking a look at each of these to find out which has the best coverage, the best performance, and compare the prices. So if this interests you, come along and join us for this journey. We'll find out the pros and cons of the Garmin, the Spot Trace, and the ham radio.